Hello, and welcome to Pop Culture Public Administration. My name is Zachary Taylor, and I will be your instructor for this class. I graduated from the MPA program at the University of Wyoming in 2017, and since then I've been teaching various classes at the university. I'm also pursuing my PhD in essentially this exact topic, looking at the nexus between political science, public administration, and pop culture, what we can learn about each of those areas by examining them together. So I think we'll be able to carry that into this class. What we're really looking to get out of this is a better understanding of public administration. Especially for practitioners, how we can understand being better public administrators by examining popular culture, by examining what it is that people in the world understand about administrators because of the pop culture that they're consuming, and also how administrators can communicate more effectively, can understand their positions within government and within society more effectively, by studying those pop culture representations. This means that we get to do a couple of really nice things, I think, with this class. Number one, this is not exactly a huge field of public administration. There are a few authors out there who are writing on these topics or who have brought in pop culture as a way of understanding different areas within public administration. And we'll capitalize on that. We'll use some of those authors to better understand the application of theory in practice for our field. Number two, it's something where we get to have a bit of fun. And I know that's not always exactly the case in a 4,000 or 5,000 level political science class, but we get to look at the things that you find interesting. As you'll see in the syllabus, we're going to be covering movies, we're going to be covering video games, we're going to be covering television, we're going to be covering comic books. We're going to look at a few different areas or subsets of popular culture, and using them to, like I said, examine what it means to be a public administrator and what kind of messages are out there about administration that's going to be affecting public administrators in the real world. So that means you'll get ample opportunity to bring in some of the things that entertain you. And as we often do in the study of political science, beat them to death until there's something useful academically coming out of them. No, I really don't mean to say that we'll necessarily hopefully ruin any of your entertainment sources, but I will say when you're watching something like Parks and Rec with a specific ear for what kind of messaging is coming out about public administrators, it does kind of change some of the roles in there, and we will be doing that. Now, as far as some of the housekeeping, let's get that out of the way first, and then we'll jump into our first discussion for this semester. And by semester, I mean the next 6 weeks. This class is going to go by pretty quick, but I think we'll be able to get a lot into that time. First off, as far as the textbook goes, you should have this readily available from the university store. I know it's also available on Amazon. There's been a little bit of back and forth as to the price, so I hope it's an affordable text for you. But the textbook that we will be using is Politics in Gotham. It's a collection edited by Dr. Picariello, and it just gathers together some really great articles looking at specifically the DC universe and Batman's role as a member of the public administration, some of the other characters who are direct administrators, and how that interacts with the politics in that world. We'll be using a few chapters out of this text to delve into some of these different topics. Otherwise, all of the texts will be available on YO courses here. So I've uploaded all of those already. You're welcome to download them from files. They're also sorted out into the modules. We'll start off this first week with one of those articles. So I'd like you to read the McCandless and Elias article that will really help us delve into why this course is a thing, why it's important to look at public administration and look at pop culture in a public administration lens. It will also help introduce critical discourse analysis, which is not a new theory, but an interesting way of bridging the gap between something that tends to be entertaining, and a way of examining that and breaking it down within its societal context to give us more useful material to be able to examine. So that's a thread that we'll see running throughout this course. As far as the course structure goes, essentially there's going to be 3 writing assignments, one being a topic proposal for what you would like to examine over the course of these 6 weeks, and that will play into your final paper. 2 larger essays that are essentially large chunks of your final paper. I've intentionally scaffolded it so that you are working on things all together instead of, taking these separate writing assignments and doing them and not feeling like they connect together along one common thread. Everything will be working towards the final paper production. You'll see there is a slight difference in the number of pages required for the undergraduate section, which is if you're enrolled in 4710, versus the graduate section, which is if you're enrolled in 5710. If you have any questions about that, let me know. That'll be one of those areas. We'll finish that off as well with a presentation of your research, and otherwise most of our interactions are going to come through our online discussions. This is where we really get to get that primary engagement with the text that we'll be covering. It's where I get to interact with you much more directly as opposed to just talking at you through a computer screen, and it is also a way that we can keep the course primarily asynchronous, so that it is accessible to everyone throughout the week. Obviously a lot of people in our program work. A lot of you have other things going on in your life at this time. I'm not exempt from that either, obviously. So I understand that, and working with this structure of an asynchronous online class gives us a lot of flexibility in doing that. Now, that being said, I do want to put on your radar, there are going to be 2 specific one specific date and one specific week where we will have a little bit more synchronous engagement, and I will explain those as well as we go through kind of what the course is going to look like. So this first week, we'll do introductions. I'll give you, a couple of questions to answer just to start getting thinking on this as you work through that McCandless and Elias article. Next week, we're going to jump into the specific field of comic books. As some of you, I think, were in one of my undergrad classes that dove into comic books for the entire semester. This is an area where we have a lot of representation of administration, and a lot of commentary that is now much more publicly available. Obviously, if we were talking about this in the 1960s, comic books were, read by 10-year-old kids. Now, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the largest, blockbuster universe in history, clocking in at just over $22 billion. That number might even be out of date now that we have Falcon and the Winter Soldier just finishing up on Disney+. So it's a crazy thing that's really out there in the public, and it's telling us a lot of things about public administration. In week 3, we will jump into movies. Again, another area, a little bit of crossover, but we'll mostly focus on other movies that aren't comic book based, and what movies tell us about the way that public administrators interact. This week is the week where there is one date I would like to put on your radar. That is the 7th of June. It's a Monday at 5 p.m. I'm going to be hosting the author of actually 2 of the articles that we'll be reading over the course of the semester. But Sharon Mastracy is a very well-known political scientist and public administration professor at the University of Utah. She has volunteered her time to do a Q&A section with our class. So I would love to have as many of you as possible attend that Q&A section with your questions. For those of you who can't, because I know that a Monday at 5 o'clock may not be available to everyone, no worries. I will be recording that session and posting the entire thing to our class. class. So you will still get to see that. If you can't make it and you are dying to ask a question, you can email that to me beforehand. I will also be, posting all of these things. I'll be giving reminders on all of these things throughout the course as we work towards that. But June 7th, keep that on your radar. After that, we'll jump into television. This is, again, one of the more popular areas, I think, where we get to see public administrators, especially with things like The Office, Parks and Rec, The West Wing. We see a lot of representation of politics and public administration in television, so that will be a fun area to jump into. After that, we're going to we're going to do something a little bit outside of the box. For those of you who may have played Among Us before, we're going to have a class Among Us tournament. And I promise this is absolutely academic. And I truly mean that. There's going to be a lot that we can garner academically from this event. So I'll be sending out more details about it. We'll schedule a couple of sessions so that it works within your schedules to be able to play. And then we'll dissect those interactions and what we can learn from something like a video game that's been very popular lately, as far as what that tells us about public administrators. And then we'll be wrapping up with our final presentations, a chance for all of you to get to present the work that you've done in your final research papers. And then we all get to learn about a few of our different interests and how those things pertain to public administration. So it's going to be a short, fast class, but I think it can also be a lot of fun. I really hope that you will enjoy engaging with all of this material. And it is, like I said, something that I think is very important to our overall understanding of public administration moving forward. So for this first week, like I said, I'd like you to read the McCandless and Elias article, get a little bit more of a grasp of why this is such a significant area in growing public administration study. If you don't mind, I would love for you to record a short video. Does not even need to be as long as this one, but just record us a short video so that we get to start to put some faces to names. Let us know who you are, what you're looking for in this class, maybe what you're studying as either your undergrad or your graduate studies. I think most of it will be political science or public administration, so maybe what you're doing for your dissertation, if you're close to that, anything like that might be interesting. And then I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what value you see just off the bat in this field. Is there a specific point in your life where maybe you saw something in pop culture that inspired you to be interested in public administration? Is there a public administrator out there that you strive to be like, or one that maybe you strive to not be like? We'll definitely talk more about Ron Swanson when we get to that week in the class. But if there are characters that you see that may inspire your interest one way or another. So introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what might be interesting in this course and why you see value after having read the article in studying this. Wonderful. I will see all of you in the chat, and I hope that you all have a wonderful start to this class. Thanks. Have a great day.